you have the teacher's console, you open it up, and this is what it looks like. And before you start a class, the first thing we need to do is to get some bridge hands for the students to play. So we're going to start out in my deal library. So I have a lot of deals in my library that I've been using over the past year. But let's say you have created some deals, some lesson deals for your students, and you're going to load them up into your Shark library. So, I mean, you can create hands here if you want to formulate your own hands. But say I need to import a new set of deals. So I've got a bunch of PBNs. This platform will also take LIN files, LIN, which is what comes out of BBO. So if you create hands in BBO and export them, you would get an LIN file. So I can click down here and I can get some LIN files as well. They both work equally well. So I'm going to choose, let's see, how about new minor forcing week 1? All right, so I'll just select that. I can double click it or open it. And then I see my deals. So I happen to have 16 deals in that set, and I can go through and just check them. I can scroll through and see that I have my hands, and the auction associated with that hand, if I made it, is in there too. So it's all here. Okay, and now I can just go back. So we've got the deals loaded for our class. So now we're going to start a session. And generally when you start a session, the program is going to create a link for you, a link that you can give your students. The very end of the link will be your access code. You can make this access code anything you like. I'm going to make mine movie star for right now. Sometimes you could use your name or something easy to remember. It works really well if you have co-hosts because they need an access code they can enter. So if you have a co-teacher or an assistant, they can come in and share the view of the whole teacher operation and the teacher console. They can read off messages, call your attention to important questions. They can also help out at individual tables. So if you have an assistant, you can let them in. If not, just uncheck that. So I'm going to allow co-hosts here. All right, and then we're going to connect. And before we can do anything at all, we need to add a table. So you only need to ever add one table. There may be times when you want to add a whole bunch of tables, and I'll get to that. But even if you have 50 or 100 students, all you need to do is add one table. And every time a new student comes on, enough tables will be added to accommodate those students. That takes place automatically. So just add the one table. And also on this add table screens, you have a choice of all kinds of different features. In a bidding class, again, I like to have the program stop them once the contract is reached. And since I see my partnerships north-south, I like to let them see their partner's hand so they can start to figure out if they bid correctly. In a declare a play class, the students love this one, allow replay. So, they go down in the first 4 tricks and they want to try again. So there's a button at the student table. If you enable it, right, you don't have to let them play it over and over, but if you enable that button, they would be able to click replay and have another try at it. And the students absolutely love that. Another button that's kind of interesting is no dummy. And we can use this for beginner classes when you're trying to show somebody how to follow suit, how to play a trick. In the very first bridge class, if you want all 4 students to play their own cards, you can disable the dummy. That would probably be about the only time. There's something here called guided play. So if you have a small class where you want your students to just play 4 boards uninterrupted, and then maybe talk about it with them afterwards, or maybe just go from table to table and chat with your students, this guided play would just allow your students to themselves go on to the next board. If you don't do this, the teacher has to bring up the next board. I have never actually used this. I like to control when the students are going to play their next board, but this would be kind of a supervised play thing where they can go at their own pace and you give them a whole set of deals right up front. Okay, so we're going to take that off. I'm going to do stop at contract. So they only play when I tell them to play. And yeah, let them see each other's cards once they finish bidding. So if you want the robots to bid as you think they should bid, click this bidding hints from library and the robots will follow what they're supposed to do. Okay. Now, one thing I want to say before I go any further is that you can practice this on your own. So I am going through this a little bit quickly. Fortunately, we have a recording, but I also want to emphasize that once you have this program on your computer, you can log in anytime and you can fool around with these buttons. You can create fake students. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Or you can just use the robots. But I did not learn this in an hour, believe me. I practiced quite a few times. It doesn't cost you anything to practice with this. So I would encourage you to set aside some time before you start teaching and just open up your SharkBridge console, start a session, and see what all these buttons do and play around with it. Get some robots in as students, see what they do, see what happens at the teacher's table, etc. Okay, so you don't have to learn everything right this minute. I'm just kind of showing you what's here and encouraging you to spend some time just having this up on your computer and playing with it, basically. Okay, so I'm going to add a table. All right, and these are the steps that I'm trying to accomplish before I let the students come into the classroom. So sometimes I am not very good at operating this console and teaching at the same time. So usually I'll say, okay, students, give me just a moment to get the classroom set up for you, and then I'll give you the link to log in. And there are basically 3 things that I have to do once I start the session. I have to add the table. I have to get my first deal loaded up because when they get to the table, I don't want them to see a blank table. I want them to see cards. And I'm going to select the first hand and I'm going to put it up there for them. I'm going to come back to this in a second. All right, so now they have a bridge hand at their table. And then I'm going to decide where they sit. Okay, so here, this is my control panel. And this box here, auto seat students, will let you decide where to put them. Now, again, in a beginner's class, I think 4 per table is perfectly reasonable because, you know, they don't need to declare every hand. They need to figure out how to play their cards and follow suit. In a slightly more advanced class, we can put them 2 per table so they get all the good cards to bid with or defend with. Since most of my classes have predetermined partnerships, I normally select this one, partners north-south, singles unseated. That way the partners get set at tables and then I can see who the singles are and I can pair them up and put them at tables. Okay, so I've done the 3 things to get this ready. I've opened the session and created tables. I've given them a deal and I've decided where they're going to sit. So at this point, students, I believe we have some volunteers. And I'd like you to go ahead and join us. All right. So what's happening now in this player list is that we're seeing who the students are. And let's see, Jane Fonda's partner is now here, Emma Stone. Okay. So I've got 7 students, and unfortunately, Elaine doesn't have a partner. So here's where I'm going to need to create another table. So I'm going to add 1 table. Oh, okay. So now there are a couple of people. So the way that I'm going to seat these players who are not at a table is that I'm going to click on their name. And then I'm going to go over. Oh, I've got to add another table now. Sometimes it's better to add 4 or 5 tables. Let's do that just in case. Okay, let me get down to an empty table here and let's put, so I've clicked on it and then I click on the seat I want to put them in. All right, I'm now clicking on Kevin Hart and I'm putting him in the south seat at table 6. By the way, you also have the option for a kibitzer. Let me just zoom in. I'm going to use these zoom in buttons so that the tables look a little bit bigger. Here we go. Let's look at a student table here a little bit larger. All right, if I wanted somebody to be a kibitzer, let's take Gillian Anderson, and instead of having her playing with David Duchovny, let's put her in as a kibitzer at Jimmy and Helen's table. So I'm just going to click on her name, and I'm going to go right here to kibitz at table 1. So you can't actually see her here at the table, but over here in the student list, I can see that Gillian Anderson is a K, is a kibitzer at table 3. All right, and now I'm going to move her back to table 1, clicked on her name, and then I'm clicking where she belongs. So you move your students around by clicking on them in the student list and then clicking the seat that you want them to be in if you have to seat individuals. So let me zoom out here a little bit. Now, when you first start operating your teacher console, it might look different than this because you can set up all these different control panels in whatever configuration you like. So for example, let's take the player list. I can move this around and set it anywhere on my screen, and I can make it bigger. So right now I can't really see all 11 students, but if I want to, I can expand this. Again, this just takes some playing around. Okay, so now I can see all 11 students, and I might decide that this is what I want to see. This is more important to me to see this as opposed to anything else. So I'll have it just take up some extra room on my screen. So this is another thing you'll want to spend some time with, deciding how to configure all your various control panels and where to put them. Once you get it set up, when you end your session and log in again the next time, it will be saved, right? So this is not how I usually have it because I have a 26-inch monitor that I use in my classes, and I put all these student tables up on the big monitor. So I can sort of get a much better overview of my student tables, and then I have another whole screen to use the controls on. So that's really handy. But if you don't have that, you can do it all on one screen. As you can see, you just have to make everything a little bit smaller so you can see everything you need and still use the teacher table. Okay, so our students are here. They're ready to play a deal. This is going to be I think a Stamen hand. So let's go to the teacher's table, which is where we control everything. Now you can see the teacher's table here is kind of blue, and it's out in front, and the student tables are in the background. I have made the mistake sometimes of clicking on a student table thinking I was controlling everybody when in fact I was controlling only that one table. In fact, let me move that out of the way. So I can go to table 1 here, and I can make North bid 2 hearts if I want to, but that doesn't change anything at the other tables. Okay, with the teacher's table, anything I do, and I'm going to bid 1 no trump, as you can see, is playing out at every table. So whether I play a card, whether I make a bid, anything I do on the teacher's table is exactly replicated at every student table. When it's time to show them the correct bidding and the correct play, basically they're watching their own table, their own cards, the entire deal play out as you wish them to see it. So this teacher's table is used a lot. I'm going to make it as big as I can here. Again, you can do this also. There we go. So I want you to see the teacher's table. Okay. All right. So normally what I would do is I would go back to the beginning. Let's assume we're at the beginning. I hadn't done anything. And I want to say to the students who are now taking a class on Stamen, all right, students, the first hand is ready for you to bid. North is the dealer. I click start play and I run the robots because we need the robots to pass or to bid if that is the case. So let's have the students here go ahead and bid. And I'll move this teacher's table out of the way here and we can kind of scroll through the tables and watch their progress. Now I've got some empty tables here. Okay, so I'm kind of watching my tables, kind of getting a sense. I'm just kind of scrolling through them and seeing what progress they're making. And I can kind of gauge how much more time they need. And then the tables turn red when the bidding is complete. So that also helps you see. What I wanted to, I have some empty tables here. I want to close this. So remember when I added like 10 tables to have room to put my students? I want to get rid of these now. So there's a command here, remove all empty tables. I'm just going to get rid of those. Okay, good. So I only have tables with students at them. Okay, so everybody has finished this hand. So I go to my teacher's table. And sometimes people might still be bidding. I'm going to click stop play. Replay will take it back to the beginning. So watch this. Okay, here's my teacher's table. As you can see, there's some different contracts. I'm going to hit replay. And now the auction goes back to the very beginning at all tables. And now I will say students, North would open 1 no trump. South has 2 4-card majors, yada, yada, yada. I show them the Stamen auction. I say South has enough for game, so we end up in 4 hearts. And now if I want the declarer to actually play it, I can say start play. And if there are robots involved at any of the tables, I have to hit run robots. By the way, let's suppose I stop the play. Sorry, students. Hitting run robots will automatically start the play also. So that button can do both at once. All right, so let's just have the students play out a few cards. So now I'm kind of watching them play. Now, one thing you can do, see, I want to kind of zoom in on a student table. So I'm going to zoom my student tables in so we can see one a little bit better. All right, let's go to Helen and Jimmy here. If I want to send them a message, I can go right in here to their message area. And I can give them a little hint if I want to. All right, so I've just sent a message to that table. I've suggested maybe they draw trumps. I can also chat to the entire class at once if I want to through the chat, but I'm usually just speaking out loud. Right, and if there's 1 or 2 tables that are really slow and kind of holding everybody, but I can see that most people are done, I'll just say, okay, let's take another 30 seconds and then I'm going to stop you. Now these zoom in and zoom out buttons allow you to control. Let's do no zoom, right? That's just kind of the standard size of these student tables. If you want to see more of them in one view, we can kind of zoom them out. All my tables a little bit more easily. Okay, so let's just assume they have finished playing or most of them have finished playing. So back to my teacher's table. All right, now I'm going to stop them. I like to have them stop when I start talking. If I were to hit replay, this would take it back to the very beginning where there's not even an auction or anything. If I want to pick it up at this point where the auction is completed and I just want to talk about the play, I could use this command up here, sync all tables. And that will just bring it back to whatever point the master table is at. All right, so watch the student tables. Okay, so I have brought it back to the beginning, but the auction is still there. Okay, and Now, let's see, what did the robot lead? Maybe they led their fourth best club. I can hit show all cards. The students like to see all four hands at the point that I'm showing them the correct play. By the way, on the student tables, you can tell what cards they can see or not by the little card symbol at their table. So let's zoom in on this again. Do you notice here how it looks like there's a turned up Queen of Hearts next to North and all four players have their cards turned up? I can hide their cards, okay? And now you're seeing the backs of the cards. If I want to go to an individual table and turn up North and South, I can just click on the backs of the cards either way. All right, but usually in a larger size class, I don't really have time to do individual things at individual tables. So I would control who sees what from the teacher's table, and that would affect every table. So hide cards, show all cards. Sometimes in the course of your lesson, you'll want to show all of your students a certain hand and then hide the hand again. For example, if you're going over the bidding and you want everybody to see North and South, you can reveal North and South to everybody by using the same function here of turning over the cards on your teacher's table. So now when I do this, everybody can see the North-South cards. And when I want to hide them again, I just click again. Perhaps you would like everyone at the table to contemplate the opening lead. And if East is on lead, you could turn up the East cards and ask everybody to consider what their lead should be. And once that's been decided, you could make the lead and turn it over again. So again, lots of different choices about replaying, where to bring it back to, either the very beginning or bring it back to the auction, or perhaps a few tricks have been played. And if they're at a different stage, again, you can sync all tables and bring everybody back to right where you are. Okay, so we've won the opening lead, and I'll show them about drawing trumps, etc. And as you can see, what I'm doing at the teacher's table plays out at every table. Okay, so I want to show you just a couple more things, and then we'll open it up to questions. Loading up your deals, some options here. All right, so here's the load deals button, and this button here is what allows me to control which hand they're going to play at any given time. So again, if I want to load one deal at a time and just choose which deal I want them to play next, I just highlight it. Okay, so if I want to do deal 8 in the book, I'll just select that one. I can see it, make sure it's the right one, and then I'm just going to click play. If I don't want them to bid, but I only want them to declare or defend, I can click play preset auction. Okay, and then the student will get the hand with the auction already there. Okay, this can be very handy if you're teaching beginners who don't know how to bid yet and you just want them to work on play of the hand. You can just play a preset auction. Sometimes I'll just set those up as like play one no trump, so people just get a chance to learn how to take tricks. So these blue buttons will allow you to play a preset auction one deal at a time. If you intend to do several deals in your set and you intend to go in order, you can upload your deal set. That'll bring up the first hand. Let me go back to this. You can also upload the deal set. I don't use preset tricks. I'm not going to talk about that. I might upload an entire deal set with a preset auction. You can just click on that. So if I upload the whole set back to my teacher's table, and I have finished talking about the hand and I'm ready for them to play the next hand, 2 forward arrows here, this will take me to the next hand automatically, and then the next hand automatically. So I don't have to go back to load deals every time and figure out which of these I want to play. If I upload the whole set, again, now I'm on the teacher's table. I can just advance forward depending which hand I want to play next. And before, when we were in our sample class, I had you put together as partners, and then I separated you so everybody could declare. Again, that's our seating control box, which is right here. And I can switch this around during class. So I have people as partners right now. And this is a really nice thing about the program. If I separate these partners to say, give them a chance to declare, and then I put them back together, they will go back with the partners they were with. All right, so say I want them to all play the hand. I'll put them all north, and the program will automatically create enough extra tables so that everybody is north at their own table. And then when they're finished declaring, I can put them back with their partners, 2 per table, north-south. Okay, so Mulder and Scully, are they back together? Yeah, they are. Okay, there are these 2 chat areas. This classroom chat is where the students are talking to each other. This box, messages from students, is where I will see their comments if they use the question mark symbol. So if I could ask the students, any of you students, if you want to just send me a question, so instead of having to look at Zoom, I can now see questions here in my messages from students. Does anyone have a question? Okay, a question on how to undo. Thank you very much. Okay, so I can kind of see these questions, and I kind of keep this box small because I don't really want to be bothered by all the chatter, but I will see the questions here. A few of you have asked what to do if a student gets disconnected. And what I tell them is just click on the link again and reconnect. Sometimes they actually get a disconnect message, and it'll ask them to reconnect, and that's all they have to do. If the teacher gets disconnected and has to reconnect, the same thing happens. Everybody just goes back to the seat they were in before. It's actually pretty smooth. Disconnects do happen because, that's the internet. So nobody panic, nobody get upset, just reconnect and you should go right back to where you were. We found that the students are pretty tolerant of technical glitches. They know it comes with the territory and that we're all still learning how to use online technology for bridge classes. So they're pretty tolerant and they're pretty happy taking the class, even if there is a glitch. Final thing I just wanted to mention to you is that you can run a duplicate game if you want to. It's a way for students to practice. So down here on your control panel, if you click on duplicate game, you can set up a Howell or a Mitchell, match points or imps, number of boards, etc. I'm not going to go into that now, but it works really well. It's a nice feature if you're interested in doing something like that. Okay, so I think I have shown you the buttons that I wanted to show you. Ask me a good question about how to move around cards at the teacher's table. That's worth showing, especially when you're teaching beginners something like finesses. Okay, so again, I'm selecting the hand that's showing right now. And since I'm going to talk to you about how to take a successful finesse, I'm going to play a preset auction. Okay, I'm not going to have students bid. I'm just going to bring up the hand and have them play it. All right, so this hand has now been loaded to every student table, and it's now on my teacher's table. And as we can see, all right, we have to finesse here in spades. So we win the ace of diamonds, and the point is that we have to take an immediate finesse. So as I'm explaining the finesse, I'll say we're going to play our 3 of spades. And if South plays low, we're going to put in our jack. And whether our jack wins the trick all depends on who has the king. And if I want to, I can change the cards and I can say, if North has the king, your jack is going to lose. And now you might go down. But we'll go back. If the king is on the other side, and you lead a small one, and South plays low, and you put in your jack, it'll win. See, it all depends on who has the king, and that's why we say a finesse is a 50-50 chance. So how did I get the king here to move back and forth so I could show the students the different outcomes depending on who had the king. And that is a really cool thing. So the card that I want to move, I right click. So I rest my cursor on it and I right click. And then I move it up to where the card is that I want to replace. In this case, the 2 of spades, and I right click. And now the king of spades and the 2 have changed places. And when I want to move them back, again, I click on right click on the king, come down here and right click on the 2, and they change places again. I think this would be a good time to bring the official presentation to an end. Thank you all for coming.